After sending thousands of LinkedIn DMs over the last few years, there are 3 different types of messages that I used to send that I will never ever send anymore. So I'm going to take you through those in this video and exactly what to do instead. Message type number 1, the coffee chat. This is where you send a really generic message to someone and it's kind of vague and you're like, hey, it's nice to connect. Maybe we can kind of collaborate. Maybe we've got some synergies. It's something where when the other receiver gets that message, you don't really know how to take it, because this ends up making sure that you have a lot of friends on LinkedIn and you create a lot of relationships and a lot of connections, but often those relationships and those connections actually don't lead to clients. So you can definitely send this kind of message if you're just on the platform and you want to build relationships and you want to make friends. But if you're wanting to actually get clients and have an authentic sales process where you are building those relationships, but it does actually result in real business results, then you want to avoid this coffee chat message. I remember in the very early days of my business where I would have a lot of these chats and people would say, hey, it'd be great to catch up for coffee, and you'd go meet them for coffee. And what ended up happening was it was just a free consulting or free coaching message in disguise. And often the person on the other end was just trying to sell me something, or just trying to get me to endorse them for a product or service or whatever that looked like. And there was no real benefit for me, even though in the beginning, it did seem potentially like there was a connection or a collaboration opportunity there. So be wary of sending the coffee chat style message if you're wanting to actually spend your time in the LinkedIn DMs to get real business results. Message to avoid number 2 is the pitch slap. These are messages, and you might have experienced them before, where you connect with someone on LinkedIn for the very first time, you've never met them, you take a breath, you hit the accept button and you hold your breath waiting for that person to pitch you, okay? It happens a lot on the platform, and so you don't want to be that person. And what I mean by a pitch slap message is literally when you've just connected with someone, you reach out and the person on the other end would say, hey, my name is Sam. We do graphic design services. It costs $20 an hour. Book a call. We can help you in your business. And you're like, hold on a minute. I don't even need graphic design help right now. I don't even have a need for this in the business at all. I didn't ask for this. This feels way too soon, way too pushing. The way I like to think about this is if you're at a networking event and you were meeting someone in person at an event and you had that same message and that same script, and you went up to that person and you spoke directly to them and you said, hey, and you said the exact same thing. I'm Sam, I graphic design services, $20 an hour, buy my stuff, or let's book our call. The other person at that networking event, if that's the first thing that came out of your mouth when you're first meeting them, they're instantly going to recoil. They're going to go, oh, this feels icky. This feels weird and super awkward. So if you wouldn't do it to someone in person to their face, don't do it in their LinkedIn DMs. All right. And so when you take the opposite approach, that's when you actually start to really cut through and you put yourself in a category of not being salesy, not being pushy, and not being icky. You actually show up as someone that wants to build genuine relationships on the platform. So number 2, don't send any pitch slap messages as your first message on LinkedIn. Mistake message number 3 is the super niche, over-personalized message. Now, this comes across when you're sending a message to someone as you're kind of a bit of a stalker. And so you want to avoid this message because it often means that the person on the other end can feel like it's a little bit intrusive, because what it sounds like is you might say, hey, I noticed that you're also from Sydney, you work at X company. I've met Roger, who also works at that company. Do you know that coffee shop down the road? Oh yeah, I used to go there all the time. I know this coffee shop, you must know it too. And it just feels like, hold on a minute, we're just meeting for the first time. And how do you know all of this about me? Have you been following me? Have you been stalking me? It just feels a little bit too much. And so you want to avoid the over-personalized message as your first message on LinkedIn, because you haven't actually built up trust yet. And people receiving a message for the first time on LinkedIn from someone brand new, their skepticism is way higher. So the first thing you actually want to do before anyone is really receptive to a conversation with you is you want to lower that skepticism down. So rather than going in too fast, too soon, too much, we want to go in with a bit of a soft approach, but also something that's highly contextualized. So the key is you want to avoid these 3. You want to avoid the coffee chat, catch-ups that lead to nowhere and just they lead to nice chats about the weather. You want to avoid being overly salesy and doing a pitch slap message on the very first time you're meeting someone. And you also want to avoid being too personal too soon. Kind of comes across as a little creepy. So instead, what you want to do is you want to add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of context to your messages, make it feel human, make it feel like you. And so one line is enough, right? We don't have to go into 3 or 4, 5 lines of hyper personalization. What you just need to do is add some context and add some flavor as to the reason you're reaching out. So maybe you've seen someone post something on LinkedIn that resonated with you. And so you want to mention that post and you want to mention something specific about that post that resonated with you when you're reaching out. So it might be like, hey Liz, I just saw your recent article on work-life balance and I really agreed with the point number 1 you shared, XYZ, right? And you just sort of continue that. Keep it really short, keep it really sweet, and make it hyper contextualized to what they've actually shared on LinkedIn. That's one way that you can do it as well. You also want to add your own flavor. So there's 2 parts to it. You want context and you want flavor. And so the context part comes from how you've come about their profile, whether that be through content, maybe you've searched them through the feed, maybe you've come through them a mutual connection and you know someone who has recommended that you reach out. So sharing the reason for connecting is your context. Then adding the flavor is the reason that they should connect with you. So out of everyone on LinkedIn, why should they connect with you? And this can be 2 parts. One part can be maybe there is something personal and contextualized that you've maybe met them in person. Maybe you've got an existing relationship that you can add into this as well. Or if you don't, adding a little bit of flavor here means lowering the skepticism for that person to make them feel really comfortable to accept you into their network. So this might mean being a little bit human, making an observation about something on their profile, something in their profile picture, even something about yourself that really lightens the mood and makes them feel like they can accept you and that you're not going to come in and pitch them. So a great example is, in my profile picture, I wear a bright green jacket. And so oftentimes if I'll see someone else that's wearing a bright colored jacket in their profile photo, I will just make a mention of that and I will say, hey, seems we're both into bright colored jackets. This works really well for one of our clients, Joanne, who has orange as a part of her brand. And so she'll say like, hey, my name's Joanne. I'm the lady that you'll see me wearing orange all the time. And so what that means is it just sort of lightens the mood. It makes it feel personal without being kind of creepy and stalkerish. And so it allows people to accept your connection request, build your network in a little bubble of safety, feeling like they're not going to get pitched to in the messages. So if you've been struggling to convert clients through LinkedIn, or if you've been embarrassed or a little bit shy or a little bit hesitant to reach out to people in the DMs with LinkedIn or adding new connections to your network, you just avoid these 3, add some context and some flavor to your first message, and you'll see your network grow.